situation in the Middle East, do you trust those institutions at all? The government, the legacy media? Do you trust them? Let's have a look at what Tucker Carlson's saying and let me know what you feel about what Tucker's saying on this subject.
So there's a lot at stake in how we encourage Israel to respond to the horrifying Hamas attacks. Wisdom and long-term thinking are essential, but you will not be surprised to learn that is not what we are getting. Watch this person, for example, who happens to be the media's pick for President of the United States.
This is not just an attack on Israel. This is an attack on America because they hate us just as much. And what we have to understand is this is the reason that we have to unite around making sure our enemies do not hurt our friends. America can never be so arrogant to think we don't need friends, just like we needed them on 9/11. That's why Ukraine needs us when Russia's doing this. That's why Israel needs us when Hamas and Iran are doing this. And I'll say this to Prime Minister Netanyahu, finish them. Finish them. Hamas did this. You know Iran's behind it. Finish them. They should have hell to pay for what they've just done.
This was an attack on America, she says, when in fact it was not. And for that reason, we must, quote, finish Iran, a nation of nearly 90 million people. What are we watching here? This is not sober leadership. She's a child, and this is the tantrum of a child, ignorant, cocksure, bloodthirsty. Yet no one in Washington scolded her for it. In fact, they aped her hysteria. Here's fellow neocon Lindsey Graham just spelling it out and calling for the bombing of Iran.
Notice that Tucker uses phrases like neocon to ensure we understand that transcendent of the presumed division between Democrat and Republican, there's a political movement that encompasses both of those sides, meaning you have very little when it comes to meaningful democratic purchase.
So I've been on the phone all day to the Mideast, and I've told our allies and people with connections to Iran, what I would do, I would tell Iran that if Hezbollah attacks Israel, we're going to come after you, the Iranians, and have a coordinated effort between the United States and Israel.
Do you wonder that complex, tragic, awful as this situation is and continues to be, that there are people that are exploiting it? Do you consider that the people in Congress that are purchasing stocks in weapons manufacturers are exploiting this situation? Do you think that those that are pushing an agenda to increase expenditure on the Ukraine-Russia conflict are exploiting this situation? Do you think that politicians, such as we have just been shown, are exploiting this situation to increase military tensions, to increase military expenditure? Do you think if we investigated the funding of Lindsay there and Nikki there, we might find that there are donations from weapons manufacturers and other vested interests? I cannot enough convey to you my determination not to further impede on the broken hearts of people directly affected by this tragedy. What I urge is that those of us that are not directly affected, and in a way we are all directly affected, but not in the same way that people that are religiously, ideologically, or personally connected to this issue, we have to consider how is this being exploited, cynically exploited by institutions that usually, when our emotions are a little more in alignment, even though that's generally hard these days, in this state of omni-crisis and generally escalating tensions, it's hard to remain